Okay, before we get started with our sheep and goat show, we're going to have a pledges, and we have Sarah Treffer and Gracie Snyder are going to lead us in those. So if you please stand and remove cover. It's on.
I pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I pledge my head to clearer thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, and my health to better living, for my club, my community, my country, and my world.
Oh, okay. Thanks. Back to you, good as new.
At this time, we'd like the first class of showmanship juniors to enter the ring. We have in the ring right now are our junior showmen, Maggie Durier, Cale Jones, Paige Wolahowski, and Samuel Winner. We want to welcome our judge today, Blaine French, originally from Batesville, Arkansas. He's a graduate of the University of Arkansas. He coached the livestock judging team at Connors State College in Oklahoma, And presently, he's the livestock judging coach at UNL here in Nebraska. We welcome him to Dawson County.
Well, good afternoon, everybody, and certainly we see some really, really good showmen in here to start things off in the junior division. Let's give them a round of applause. Really, really happy to see the talent and work ethic that we have in here in the ring. I think these kids do an excellent job. Obviously, with spacing and using the ring, it's really similar to what we talked about with cattle. Talk to them for a brief minute, and again, what things that'll set you guys apart at this point are being able to walk those sheep into a stance pretty easy, get them set up, and then go showing. You want to look natural, that kind of thing. Again, I think each one of these kids is doing a heck of a job. It does make a tough decision. To me, there's two showmen that kind of sort themselves to the forefront, and you have to think about kind of personal preference and which direction you want to go then. But as for me, young man that's third here in the lineup, he's going to be your champion.
Champion is Cale Jones. Other purple ribbon winner is Paige Wolahowski, and blue ribbon winners are Maggie Duryea and Samuel Winner. Entering the ring next will be our intermediates, Taylor Kramer, Parker Wolahowski, and Jalen Wolfinger. We need the senior showmanship sheep showman to please be in the arena also. Today's show is being live streamed. If you have friends and family that would like to watch, they can go to KRVN's website, go to their events page, and there's a Dawson County Fair listing. If they click on that, it will show them how to get on to the live streaming for today. And we want to thank our sponsors for that made that possible. High Gain Feedlot of Farnham and Cozad, K Farms of Gothenburg, Laird Feed of Gothenburg, Platte Valley Auto, Lexington and Kearney, Pony Express Chevrolet and Buick of Gothenburg, Dawson County Cattlemen, Logan Hunke with Channel Seed out of Cozad, Russman Welding out of Farnham, Nutrien Ag Solutions out of Cozad, Heartland Buick and Chevrolet Lexington, and KRVN The River and Cami out of Lexington. Thank you to those sponsors. Our junior trophy sponsor was the Wayne Young family. The intermediate sponsor will be Bruce and Julie Rickardson family. The seniors sponsor is Keith White family.
Excellent trio of intermediate showmen that we have out here, and I do think they really do a nice job of covering the basics. I mean, the intensity's there. You can definitely tell that they're trying to be competitive and that they want to win out here, and I think that's important. It's certainly good to see that in these young people. I do think some of the smaller things kind of sort them, and I think, honestly, you kind of have a pair of showmen there up front that sort themselves up. Just really natural, very good at when they finally get those animals, stuck and planted from the side. Really do a nice job of presenting those. And so again, I think it's small differences between the two. Maybe for me, the sorting factor will be maybe not as much messing with legs, that kind of thing, trying to look natural and go show them when you can, even if they're not in that perfect position. Just some different things to think about. It's definitely a tough decision, but the young man there in the middle is going to be your champion.
Your champion intermediate sheep showman is Parker Wallachowski. Also receiving a purple is Jalen Wolfinger. Receiving a blue, Taylor Kramer. Entering the ring now is our senior sheep showman, Parker Wallachowski, J.C. Wolfinger, and Savannah Peterson.
Excellent job by these three out here. Let's give them a round of applause. I know there was only three of them, but I still think they're super, super high quality. Definitely really good showmen that are experienced, that know what they're doing in here. And again, I'm going to go ahead and award each one of them purple because I think they deserve that for sure. And each one of them can certainly stand some more competition. There's no doubt. I think all the basic things, the big picture things, I think each one of these three really cover those very easily. It's some of those extra things after that that can make the sort. And I guess for me, we have to think about ranking you guys and putting a placing on it. These two here in the front, I think for me, kind of sort themselves up pretty quickly, just as far as, being well presented. They're definitely focused, they're engaged, but again, they do a nice job of setting those animals up and putting them in positions, to be the most successful. So again, very nice set of senior showmen out here. As for me, the young man there in front is going to be your champion, the young lady in the middle will be reserve, and the young lady there in the back will be third. Good job, guys.
Your champion senior sheep showman is Spencer Wolahowski, followed by J.C. Wolfinger and Savannah Peterson. The Sabee breeding show will begin now. We need the first class, Cale Jones. Also, we need the second class in the building. The first class will be ewe lambs born during February. We have Cale Jones.
Nice single entry female this young man brings to the table. One that I think is really, really stout, big-footed, stout bone female that's super round-ribbed and good in terms of width and dimension, there's no doubt. She's got Brood U written all over. If I wanted to correct her a little bit, I might want to tuck her up there in terms of her chest up front, maybe make her a little bit leveler out of her hip, but still a female that certainly comes with the basics and has that extra dimension to go with it. Good job.
Receiving a purple ribbon was Cale Jones. Entering the ring now will be Class 2 ewe lambs born during late January. We have Taylor Kramer, Cale Jones, Samuel Winter, and Samuel Winter with the second one. This will be first call for Class 3 ewe lambs born in early January. Just a reminder, the 4-H'ers can pick up their ribbons down from Sarah in the southeast corner of the arena. Also, she has water and hand sanitizer. Please feel free to go down and get water or use the hand sanitizers.
Another good class of ewe lambs, and I think Brood Ewe character really sorts this female that wins the class up. She's just the roundest bodied, boldest top female. It's the stoutest pinned and most opened up underneath. I think she certainly has that power, but then again, has that good look to go with it from the side. Is she perfect from a structural standpoint? No. You might want to make her a little looser as she gets out and goes on her rear tube, but again, gives you a good look, has the right kind of substance that we're looking for. Ewe that comes in second is one that's super dimensional. She's wide-chested, big forearmed, and opened up. Really a round-ribbed ewe. I just question her in terms of grow a little bit. She's kind of a low-statured in terms of her shoulder set up front. And in terms of her rear tube, she kind of wants to round out of her hip and get a little bow-legged as she goes. The ewe that's going to sit third, man, is she elevated through her front 1/3. She's one that I think has that leg wool that we're after that certainly gives her some character from the outside. As for me, though, when I step in behind the sheep, she easily narrows the most there to her lower stifle, needs to be a little more opened up and have a little more shape. I'd like to relax her in terms of her spine. Ewe that rounds out the class, man, is she high-performing, super long-bodied, really a female that's super tall-shouldered, just a little flat-bodied, a little too narrow from behind, needs a little more muscle to make a play.
Winner of Class 2 is Samuel Winner. Second purple, Samuel Winner. Third purple, Cale Jones. And first blue goes to Taylor Kramer. Now entering the ring will be Class 3 ewe lambs, lambs born during early January. We have Savannah Peterson, Spencer Wolahowski, and Paige Wolahowski. This is final call for Class 4 ewe lambs born in early January. And first call for Class 5 yearling ewe lambs born in December of 2019.
Really a pretty stout class of ewe lambs that come in here, and I do think, though, the winner wins pretty handily. I'll be the first to admit she's not the coolest looking thing. I wish I could make her a little smoother in her blade up front, maybe a little leveler out of her hip, but when we talk about a ewe that certainly is as wide-chested, as round-ribbed, and as stout-pinned as anything we've seen, a really big-footed, stout-boned female, has that Brood Ewe character that we're after, again, on a sound enough package, in my opinion. Good ewe to win the class. The two that come next, I think, can certainly be switched depending on what your preference is. I like the one that, to me, is a little bit more consistent in her top line, a little bit better out of her hip. I think her underline progression is a little bit better, and that kind of helps her balance up from the side. She is a little low-statured. You certainly have to give her a little bit more stifle shape from behind. The ewe that's going to round out the class, she is really tall-bladed. She's one that I think is really long and extended, there's no doubt. And she's highly presented. I just don't think she wedges the right way over the top side of her skeleton. And you study her from the side, she's a little bit too deep in her chest and shallow in her flank, kind of hurting her balance there. Good job.
Your class winner is Spencer Willahowski, followed by Savannah Peterson, and the third blue in that, or purple in that class is Paige Willahowski. Now entering the ring will be ewe lambs born in early January, Parker Willahowski and Cale Jones. This will be final call for Class 5 yearling ewes born in December of 2019, and first call for the ram lamb born in January of 2020. Reminder to the 4-Hers showing sheep and goats today, you are dismissed after you're done showing. However, you do need to clean your pens out in the barn, if you would, please. You can use the muck trucks and take it to the southeast corner of the beef building. There is a pile started there, so please clean your pens before you leave.
A good class, a good pair of females in here. I'm going to go ahead and leave them as they stand and use the young man there in the front to win the class. She's just the one that, to me, is a lot more relaxed in her spine as you get him on the go. She's leveling out of her hip and then certainly uses her hip and hind leg posture with a little more flexibility. She is on the move, a little more progressive up front. And again, she's one that's round-bodied, big-topped, and open up underneath. Really have to appreciate that. Now, the ewe that's bigger-footed and stouter bone, a little shaggier leg is going to sit second. She's one that is as round-ribbed as anything we've seen. I just think she gets a little bit too bunched up in her spine on the move. She wants to duck her pins and get a little too tight and uncoordinated in the way that she uses her hind leg. But again, a super nice, high-quality pair of ewes in this class. Good job, guys.
Class winner was Parker Willahowski, and second purple went to Cale Jones. Now entering the ring will be the yearling ewe shown by Spencer Willahowski.
Really a pretty nice single entry blue sheep out here, one that I think has a compelling look from the outside. Really driven up there up front and good looking there. That one's front 1/3. She's good in terms of her top line, and I do think she has enough substance there at the surface and off both ends. If I want to get picky on this sheep, I'd like to make her a little bit better in her forehead, maybe a little rounder in her body shape, and I will say certainly make her a little leveler out of her hip. But again, that's a ewe that I think still structurally correct, can certainly give you that cool look from the outside. Good job.
Receiving a purple is Spencer Wolahowski. Next entering the ring will be the Ram Lamb, born in January of 2020. Parker Wolahowski. Following this, we will have selection of the champion and reserve breeding sheep. We need all of the first place winners from the breeding ewes to please be lining up.
Really a good, pretty nice single entry ram lamb that we have out here, and he's one that I think, you step around the front of him, he's super big forearmed, wide chested, super expanded there in terms of his chest floor. He really transitions back to a super round body shape, and again, I appreciate the stoutness he does have up high. He's one that I think is good enough looking at his front 1/3, where I'd like to correct him there is in terms of his hind two. He's a little bit straight in the way that he sets him to the surface, a little round out of his hip, and I just wish he matched that extra chest width with a little more pin width and shape from behind. But again, that's an awfully nice ram lamb. Looking forward to getting him back out here for the grand drive.
Purple ribbon winner, class winner, the ram is Parker Wolahowski. At this time, we need from Class 1, Cale Jones, Samuel Winter from Class 2, Spencer Wolahowski, Class 3, Parker Wolahowski, Class 4, Spencer Wolahowski, Class 5, and Parker Wolahowski out of the Ram class to compete for champion breeding sheep. The champion and reserve trophies for the breeding sheep are sponsored by the Livestock Premium Club. Inside of your programs, it's showing the donors to this booster club that provide extra premiums to our 4-H'ers. If you're interested in donating, there's a list of board members down at the bottom. You can contact one of them.
Well, we've already talked about each one of these sheep individually, so I won't waste any time doing that. I do think a really, really consistent set out here. I think we've got a set of females and, of course, one male there in the back that I think cover those basics. We talk about it being functional, being good-bodied, good skeleton sheep that have the right kind of pattern, but then, of course, having the shape, the dimension, the extras to go along with it. And so I think we've got a really, really intriguing set out here in front of us. In my mind, though, as we start thinking about a grand champion, there is one that sticks out to me. Man, she really sticks out for the extra power she has, the body shape, the stoutness, width, all that stuff. But then again, I think she puts it in a good enough structured package, in my opinion. So with that being said, Young Minutes third there in the lineup is going to be your champion.
Your champion is Spencer Walahowski. We'll now bring in the reserve, Savannah Peterson. Reserve breeding sheep is Savannah Peterson. We will give a little bit of time before we start the market sheep so they can get some pictures and get changed around. Be first call for class 1, lambs weighing 128 to 130 pounds. Together and thank all those groups for getting this together. Reminder to any of the 4-Hers throughout the show that receive a purple ribbon, you are eligible to go to the Loop Valley Challenge in Ord. Sarah has the brochures over there that you need to fill out and get signed by the extension staff. If you're interested, just go over and talk with Sarah. She can get you a brochure. Our superintendents for the show today for the goat and sheep is Kanda Klinknight with Assistant Superintendent the Tim Negley family. Our ring person today is Carly Klinknight. We'd like to thank them for the help and the organization that they've put together this show. Call for Class 1, market sheep weighing 128 to 130 pounds. First call for Class 2, market sheep weighing 125 to 127. Entering the ring now is Class 1, Parker Wolochowski and Cale Jones. Second call for Class 2, market sheep weighing 125 to 127. First call for Class 3, 122-pound lambs.
Interesting pair of sheep out here. I'm going to leave them as they stand and go ahead and use the young man there in the front to win the class. That was not my initial thought whenever they first walked in the ring, but I do think if you genuinely study the sheep up front over their top, and when you really get in behind them is where you can see that sheep's just got a little more true shape there to his lower stifle. He touches with a little more tone and shape over his rack, and certainly he's wide-chested and big forearm. I'd be the first to admit I wish I could level him out of his hip, make him a little more attractive up front, and certainly he's not the big shaggy-legged one in here, but I do think he has the genuinely most muscle content and meat animal shape of the pair. The one that's going to come second, he's the one that's the booted down one, that's big-footed and stout bone, definitely has that appeal from the outside, super round-bodied. In my opinion, I do think he has some width up high and through his chest floor. I just wish he maintained that back to his rear two-thirds, a little narrower pinned and flatter there to his lower stifle. I'd not like to make him a little more youthful in terms of his center body, but like I said, a very good pair of sheep.
First purple in Class 1 was Parker Wolochowski. Second purple goes to Cale Jones. Now entering the ring will be Class 2, sheep weighing 125 to 127. We have J.C. Wolfinger, Cale Jones, Savannah Peterson, and Spencer Wolochowski. This will be second call for Class 3, sheep weighing lambs weighing 122 pounds. First call for Class 4, lambs weighing 112 to 116 pounds.
Nice class of wethers out here. I do think it sorts into a top pair of wethers that are just really chock full of muscle there up top. The one that's going to win the class, though, is just a little more acceptable in terms of his hip and hind leg set. He's square in the way that he sets those rear two to the surface, a little bit more acceptable and leveler there out of his hip. And I think when you get these sheep on the move, he's just a little more elevated through his front 1/3, wants to run uphill a little bit easier than his contemporary. And then, of course, still, he handles super fresh up high, really big pin and open up. Certainly a round-bodied sheep that has enough muscle, no doubt. One that's going to sit second, there is no question. That is absolutely the heaviest muscled sheep in the class, the biggest rack sheep that transitions back into the most dimensional loin, big pinned, opened up underneath, there's no doubt. And that one can give you a cool look from the side. Just wants to turn out up front, a little open in terms of that one's blade, and that one's hip and hind leg posture I'd really like to correct, make that one leveler and make him square, make him get out with a little more structural integrity. But again, very heavy muscled sheep to be sitting second. One that's going to be third's a round-bodied sheep that I think's made pretty well. Skeleton's really not too big of an issue in my mind. Level up top, square out of that sheep's hip. That's the one, though, when you get your hands on him, he's a little disappointing in terms of shape. Not near as crisp over the top side of his skeleton, not near as much shape as you get right in behind the sheep. The one that's going to round out the class may be as sound structured and as good built as anything in the class, but there again, when you get your hand on that particular sheep, you step in behind that one, maybe a little bit disappointed with just the amount of shape and dimension that one's lacking. But again, very, very deep class of sheep.
Purple ribbon and first in Class 2 is Spencer Wolahowski, followed by J.C. Wolfinger. Receiving blues, Cale Jones and Savannah Peterson. Entering the ring now will be Class 3, lambs weighing 122 pounds. Maggie Duraria, Cale Jones, Spencer Wolahowski. This will be second call for Class 4, lambs weighing 112 to 116 pounds, and first call for Class 5, lambs weighing 97 to 103 pounds. We need the clubs to be thinking about the pin of 5. Each 4-H club can put together a pin of 5. However, they can be of either sex. However, you must have 3 different owners within the group.
Another nice class of weathers out here, but I'm going to go ahead and use the young man's sheep here on my far left to be your class winner. That one just handles with the most shape over the top side of his skeleton. You get in behind him, he's stout pinned, he's got some shape, he's some width from stifle to stifle. Good round body sheep that I think can give you kind of that show weather look from the outside. I would like to correct him in his loin though, man. He needs to handle fresher there. He's a little stale as you get your hands over him. But again, a sheep that I think can give you a cool look from the outside. The one that's going to sit second is a big-footed, stout bone wether that I think is as good in his body shape as anything. It's just when you get your hands on him and you kind of step in behind him, he needs to have more true shape over his rack and more shape there to his lower stifle. Sheep that's going to come next is really good from a structural standpoint. I really have no design flaws with this particular sheep. Just again, maybe a little too plain over the top side of his skeleton, a little too plain as you get right in behind him. He's a little frail there at the surface. Good job.
Your class winner in Class 3 is Spencer Wolahowski, followed by Cale Jones. Receiving first blue is Maggie Duraria. Now entering the ring is Class 4, Lambs weighing 112 to 116 pounds. We have Taylor Kramer, Jalen Wolfinger, Cale Jones, and Taylor Kramer. This would be final call for Class 5, Lambs weighing 97 to 103, and first call for Class 6, Lambs weighing 88 to 90 pounds. Reminder again, 4-Hers can pick up their ribbons from Sarah down at the table in the southeast corner. Also, she has water available for anybody here. If you need a bottle of water, please go down. It's sponsored by Flatwater Bank out of Gothenburg.
Class of wethers, and I do think it sorts into a top pair of wethers up here, and you can decide what you want to do. I like the blue sheep to win, though, pretty handily. That one's easily more shapely over the rack, over his rack. He certainly, when you get in behind the sheep, has more shape to his lower stifle and upper pin set. He's one that's pretty big-footed and stout-boned, and when she gets that thing set up like that, you're going to really appreciate that attractive look that he gives you up front, really a youthful-appearing sheep in terms of his front one-third. If I'd want to correct him, though, I would say maybe I'd like to make him a little shapelier in terms of his muscle pattern, maybe tone him down in terms of fat cover a little bit. He's starting to push a little bit, but again, that's a good built one that has the right kind of muscle dimension. The one that's going to sit second, maybe the best built sheep of the class, really level up top and square out of that one sit. There's no doubt that whether can give you a cool look from the side. There again, though, I think you get your hands on him and you wish you had more shape up high, and certainly from behind, a little bit disappointing in terms of his lower leg shape. The one that's going to sit third, super high-performing wether that's really long spine. I think he's level up top and set square out of his hip. And while he has enough shape, just not enough dimension of muscle. Needs a little more natural width. And that's honestly the same story for the wether that's going to round out the class. I like his body shape, but I just think he needs a little more power and stoutness to make a play.
Class winner on Class 4 is Jalen Wolfinger. Second purple goes to Cale Jones. First blue to Taylor Kramer, and second blue to Taylor Kramer. Now entering the ring will be Class 5, lambs weighing 97 to 103 pounds. We have Taylor Kramer, Maggie Duria, and Samuel Winter. This will be final call for Class 6, lambs weighing 88 to 90 pounds.
Nice sheep to win the class here in this set. To me, that one's just the best built. That one's the most relaxed in terms of that one's spine and out of her hip. I think she's a little leveler and squarer there, certainly a little more acceptable as you get him on the move. And I think if you study her for muscle shape, she has enough up high, and when you get him behind the sheep, like her to win the class. Whether that's going to be seconds when it's probably the roundest bodied, boldest rib sheep, probably as big-footed and stout-boned as anything, there's no doubt. And while I do think that one has some shape and width, that one from a build standpoint struggles a little bit open-bladed, wants to toe out up front, and then certainly that hip and hind leg structure needs to be corrected. A sheep that's going to round out the class is a really bold-ribbed, round-bodied sheep that I think has the right kind of practicality and structure. At the same time, though, not enough muscle shape up high or from behind, just needs more time on feed to shape up. Good job.
Your class winner is Samuel Winter, receiving first blue, Taylor Kramer, and second blue, Maggie Doria. Now entering the ring will be class 6, lambs weighing 88 to 90 pounds. We'll have Samuel Winter and Paige Wolahowski. Following this, we will have selection of our champion market sheep and reserve, so we need the first place individuals being ready to come into the ring.
Nice shaped up blue sheep to go ahead and win this class. One that I think super grooved up over the top side of his skeleton. Really good in his shape from there on back, and I think he has the proper amount of muscle in terms of his lower leg shape when you get him behind him. Good in terms of his leg roll and pretty stylish from the side. I would like to fix his structure a little bit though. I'd like to make him a little smoother in his blade shape up front, relax him in his spine, make him a little leveler out of his hip, but really a heavy muscled, good looking sheep there up front. The one that's going to sit second certainly is round ribbed as any, and that sheep that I think is one that has enough look up front. You just study him up high, you get him behind him, you're a little disappointed. He needs to be a little bit wider and more opened up in terms of his muscle shape in order to make a play.
Class winner of Class 6 is Paige Wolahowski, and first blue goes to Samuel Winner. At this time, we need our class winners to be entering the ring. Class 1, Parker Wolahowski. Class 2, Spencer Wolahowski. Class 3, Spencer Wolahowski. Class 4, Jalen Wolfinger. Class 5, Samuel Winter. And Class 6, Paige Wolahowski. Our champion and reserve trophies are sponsored by the Livestock Booster Club. Again, the clubs need to be thinking about getting their pens of 5 ready to come in. You do need 3 owners, and they are market animals. Reminder again to the sheep showmen, when the show is over and you're getting ready to go home, please make sure you clean your pens.
Well, we step out here into the Grand Market Lamb Drive and just want to congratulate these exhibitors. Let's give them a round of applause. They bring some really, really good livestock out here that are certainly fun to evaluate. We've already talked about each one of these individually, so I won't do that. But I do think, again, when we talk about market lambs, first thing that we're looking for is muscle, right? They got to have the right kind of muscle shape, the right kind of genuine dimension and being opened up. But again, we realize that skeletal integrity pattern is starting to become more important. So I want these sheep to balance up correctly from the side as well. And I think we've got a couple out here that do that to a really high degree. And then I think we've got a couple of sheep out here that are really, really heavy muscled. And so I think you got to try to come to an agreement there in your mind and come to something there in the middle. And I think it does come down to, in my opinion, 2 sheep when you get them out here. Young man sheep that's second they line up there, that's the big muscled sheep. That's the one that's really really shapely up high, really shapely from behind. I'd like to reconfigure that one's hip and hind leg though, especially when you get that sheep on the move. That one's a little too uncoordinated. You'd like to relax that one's spine. But again, once he gets that one set up, it can give you a good look from the outside, and then certainly that one's the most pleasing as you get your hands on the sheep, there's no doubt. Blue sheep though, that's here fourth in the lineup, is one that I think is easily the best built. That's the best built sheep in my opinion. That one drives better elevated in terms of that one's front 1/3 as you get the sheep out on the move, level, square, has the right kind of hind leg placement. The question on that one though, is there enough muscle shape and dimension in that particular sheep? I don't know. That one's a little narrow chested. That one doesn't handle quite as crisp up high as what you'd like to see. Then certainly as you get in behind, and just in comparison to the one we're talking about, that one's giving up a ton of natural dimension and width, some shape to that sheep. So again, those are the 2 that I think you have to choose from. In my opinion, I'm going to go with the one that covers the basics the easiest, and maybe still you'd like to fix that one's build, but it's good built enough. Young man sheep, the second in the lineup, is going to be your champion.
Champion goes to Spencer Willahowski. We'll now have J.C. Wolfinger bring in her second place lamb from that weight group.
You bring that second place out of that class back here, and you know, he's really all the same thing. Man, is he chocked full of muscle. That's a big back, stout pin sheep that's got as much shape as any out here. But again, some build pieces that I'd really like to fix. I'd like to fix his blade shape. I'd like to fix the way that he sets those rear 2 down to the surface. So a little more structural integrity things to have to accept with a sheep like that. As for me, reserve's going to be the blue sheep.
Reserve goes to Jalen Wolfinger.
Wait till I move.
We need to wish a happy birthday to Paul Peterson today. Guess he's celebrating a birthday. Keep a little bit of social distancing as you're lining up, plus it being hot. The Pin of 5 plaque is sponsored by the Dawson County Sheep and Wool Association. I'd like to welcome our new maintenance man to the Dawson County Fair. He's over stringing out some hoses over there right now. If we could put our hands together for Mike Richmond. He's done a heck of a job trying to get this all put together and know what to do. So thanks, Mike. Now entering the ring are Club Pen of 5. The first group coming in on the south side will be Tail Twisters. The second group coming in that we'll put on the north side will be Sumner Livestock.
Well, two very nice pen of 5 out here in the sheep division. And I do think both of them really cover that first angle of consistency that we're looking for. And I think there are differences among the sets. You know, I think the set that I have here on my right, those sheep are really good built for the most part to me. I see sheep that are very consistent in their top line, good out of their pen set, and really very sound as they get out and go. Maybe the big thing that I can see I want to change from a quality standpoint on those sheep is just their muscle dimension and shape. Ones that I think when you study them up high, you maybe would like to give them a little more natural width. Maybe you get them behind those sheep and it's kind of the same story there. But again, very nice built set in that pen on the right. There on the left, though, I think we do have a pen that's still a good built enough. There's some things I'd like to fix in terms of their rear leg structure to maybe try to square them up a little bit. But while I do think they are good built enough, I think they take it to the next level in terms of muscle, in terms of dimension, and having the right kind of openness and width that we're looking for. And so while both of these would be purple, I have to make a decision on champion, and that'll be your group over here to the left. That'll be your champion pen.
Champion pen of 5 goes to Sumner Livestock. Also receiving a purple are Tail Twisters. Congratulations. That concludes our sheep show. We will roll right into the goat show. So the first class of goats in the meat goat, in the showmanship division, the juniors need to be getting ready. For the goat show, we will begin with the meat goat showmanship, followed by the meat goat show, and then we'll go into the dairy goat showmanship, followed by the dairy goat show. This will be second call for junior meat goat showmanship. Second call. First call for intermediate and first call for senior. Entering your ring now are the junior division of the meat goat showmanship. We have Aaliyah Negley, Carson Nichols, and Kale Jones.
Really nice job by these junior meat goat showmen. Let's give them a round of applause. The kids do a nice job working with their animals in the ring, do a nice job getting them set up, always making sure I'm getting a proper look. You know, I talked to each one of them, asked them how much they feed a day, those type of simple questions, and they were actually really good answers that I got. So I want to congratulate those young people. It does become a tough decision on me on deciding who your champion is going to be. But with that being said, the young man there with the black doe is going to be your champion.
Trophy winner in the junior meat goat division is Carson Nichols. Also receiving purples is Kale Jones and Aaliyah Negley. This time we'll have our intermediate showmanship. Trophy sponsor for the junior showmanship was Helt, McCune, and Copley. Our intermediate trophy sponsor is Lexington Feeder Service, And our senior trophy sponsor is Helt, McEwen, and Copley.
Well, I'm really impressed by the talent with this intermediate showman. Even though she's out here by herself, I certainly think she could stand some more competition. You know, we talked to her a little bit about just, you know, what she likes about showing, how long she's been showing, what she feeds, that kind of thing. And she answered those questions very well. What I can appreciate is that she looks very relaxed in here. She does a nice job getting those feet set where she wants them and kind of keeping them there. So commend this young lady. I think her future is bright, no doubt. Congratulations to her. Good job.
Our intermediate meat goat showmanship champion is Abby Negley. Now entering the ring will be our senior showmanship participant.
Really another super qualified and excellent senior showman out here. And again, if there was some other showman, I still think she would make a play. Does a really nice job of answering questions and really being descriptive. When she's answering those, definitely answers them with some confidence, and so that's a plus on her side of things, no doubt. As far as just working with the animal, her ring presence really, and she's shown 2 species so far this week, and I think she definitely does a nice job showing both. Really good ring presence, stays relaxed. Congratulations to that young person. She'll be your champion. Good job.
Champion senior meat goat showmanship winner is Gracie Snyder. We will go right into our breeding meat goat show. So this will be first call for class 1. Does born during February of 2000.
nice female as we get her out here as a single entry. And I think she's one that really covers those maternal basics that we're looking for. She's super feminine up front, really cool looking and attractive in terms of the way that she patterns up and designs there from the outside. I think she has enough substance in my opinion. I think she's round-ribbed enough. I might like to make her a little bigger footed and stouter bone, maybe have a little more shape as you get right directly behind her. But again, a pretty nice built doe that certainly has enough substance in my mind. Congratulations.
Receiving a purple is Kale Jones. Entering the ring now will be does born during March of 2019. Abby Negley will have 3 does, and Aaliyah Negley will have 1 doe in this class.
Nice class of does here, and I think the top pair of does really differ in terms of the strengths they bring to the table, but I'm going to use the better built female that I think is better in her blade shape up front. To me, she's leveler up top and sits square out of her hip, and I just think goes have a little more structural integrity as she gets out on the move, and still a doe that I think has enough body shape and dimension to her. Now, the bigger footed, stouter bone female that I think is a little more naturally opened up is the one that's going to sit in second. She's wide chested, she's stout as you get in behind them. I just question her in terms of structure. She's a little straight shouldered there up front, kind of wants to get off at her top, get up underneath herself, and be a little uncoordinated and tight as she gets out and goes on her rear two. The doe that comes next is a doe that I think has a right kind of power, width, and dimension, just a little plainer in terms of the look she has from the side, a little rounder out of her hip and that kind of thing. A doe that rounds out the class is a female that I think is really feminine through her front 1/3. I think she's smooth enough in her pattern, just a little flat bodied, a little more closed up, like I said, a little bit plainer in her shape in comparison, but like I said, a very good class. Good job.
First purple goes to Abby Negley. Second purple goes to Abby Negley. First blue goes to Abby Negley. And second blue goes to Aaliyah Negley. Now entering the ring will be a doe born in June of 2019, Carson Nichols. First call for class kid does born in September of 2019. and first call for kiddos born during January of 2020.
Really nice single entry doe out here, one that I think brings a ton of femininity to the table. Really a feminine featured, long neck, shallow chested doe that I think is good in terms of her makeup and her structure from there back and at the ground. I think the biggest thing you question on this one is you get in behind her, you'd probably like to see her with a little bit more shape, see her a little wider and more opened up, certainly a little frill at the surface, but again, good built, sound structured does will never go out of style. Good job.
Receiving a purple is Carson Nichols. Now entering the ring is Kid Doge, Abby Nagley.
A really nice single entry kid doe out here, one that I think is really stout and heavy structured, a big-footed stout bone female that I think is good in her body shape. She's stout up high, and when you get in behind her, she certainly matches that. I guess there's some things about her build that I'd like to fix. She's a little toed out there up front, kind of wants to get off on her top and round out of her hip, but again, a really big-footed stout bone female, lots of power in that one. Good job.
Receiving purple, Abby Nagley. Now entering Kid Doge, Moving now is Kid kid does born during the month of January. We have Kale Jones, Aaliyah Negley, and Kale Jones.
A really nice female to go ahead and sort up in this particular class. Blonde-headed doe there on the outside is going to win. She's the one that just has the most substance. I think she's the roundest bodied doe. That's the most impressive in terms of her foot and bone structure. Getting behind her, she's really wide and opened up, there's no doubt. She's one that I'd like to make a little bit leveler top. She kind of wants to get off behind her shoulders there up high. But again, that's one that's good enough built, certainly has the extra pieces of power to go with it. Black-headed doe that's going to be second, I think is really, really good built. She may be as good of built as anything here in the class. I just think she's a little frailer there in terms of her foot and bone. You get in behind her, you're not near as impressed with the amount of width and dimension that she brings to the forefront. One that's going to round out the class is really feminine from the outside, a good-looking doe, and take nothing away from her in that right. I just think she's a little too flat-bodied, flat in her forerib, a little too narrow and closed up from behind. Good job.
First place goes to Aaliyah Negley. Second purple goes to Kale Jones. And first blue goes to Kale Jones. Now there'll be a single entry of kid does born during the month of April, shown by Aaliyah Negley. After this, we will be selecting our champion and reserve breeding meat goat. So the class winners need to be making their way over to the ring.
Nice little single entry female this young lady brings to the ring. This is one that I think, again, really good looking up front, a long neck, smooth shouldered doe that I think has the right kind of build and design from their back. Maybe one that's just a little green today, probably needs some more time on feed to go ahead and fill out, maybe needs to stouten up just a little bit. Good job.
Receiving a purple, Aaliyah Negley. At this time, we'll bring in the class winners to select our champion and reserve breeding meat goat. Out of Class 1, Kale Jones. Out of Class 2, Abby Negley. Class 3, Carson Nichols. Class 4, Abby Negley. Class 5, Aaliyah Negley. And Class 6, Aaliyah Negley.
very interesting lineup of does out here, there's no question, and I do think they all have the right kind of build and good enough muscle content in my opinion. I do think there's multiple different directions that a guy could go out here as far as making a decision. I guess for me, I'm going to make the decision based on the one that has the most out there pieces. Not only is she good built enough, but she has the most out there pieces in terms of muscle, in terms of stoutness and power. And with that being said, young lady here, fourth in the lineup, is going to go ahead and be your champion.
Champion breeding meat goat goes to Abby Negley. Reserve goes to Cale Jones. Congratulations. We will go right into our market meat goat show. This will be first and final call for all three classes. First class, 113 pounders. Second class, 69 to 78 pounders. And our third class is 42 to 55 pounders. While we're waiting for the presentation of the trophies, we want to remind the goat exhibitors that when you leave today, you do need to clean your pens. There's muck trucks out there you can put your wood chips into, and there's a pile in the southeast corner of the barn that you can dump it into. Thank you.
One in the first, 3, 3.
In the ring now is our first class of market meat goat. It's Abby Negley with a goat weighing 113 pounds.
Nice single entry weather that this young lady brings to the table. This is one that I think has the right kind of handle and muscle shape over the top side of his skeleton. Getting behind him, he's stout pinned, he's opened up from stifle to stifle, there's no doubt. And I think it gives you a good enough look from the outside. You might say you'd want to stouten him up in terms of his foot and bone work, maybe make him a little bit better balanced from the side, but again, it's the one that has the right kind of muscle, good body shape, like that weather quite well. Congratulations.
Your class winner is Abby Negley. Now entering the ring is Class 2, Aaliyah Negley, Kale Jones, and Gracie Snyder.
Nice trio of weathers out here that I think all certainly have their differences. The one that I'm going to use to win the class, I think, is the right combination of having, the most muscle shape actually over his rack. He handles the shapiest there. I think he has some shape as you get in behind him. And then honestly, he certainly is good built, as good pattern and flexible as any of the three that we have in front of us. So I think he's the right combination of the two things that we're looking for. The one that's going to come second, a really bold-bodied doe. That I think has enough width and dimension, there's no doubt. Maybe not enough shape. That one needs to handle with more tone up high and certainly have a little more shape from behind. That one's a little further at the surface. But again, width and dimension, not an issue there. One that comes next, really a round-ribbed doe that I think has the proper to look up front in terms of some extra extension. I just think that one handles are way too dry and stale over a rack. He's one that transitions back a little too frail and closed up underneath. Good job.
First purple goes to Gracie Snyder. Second purple to Aaliyah Negley. First blue to Kale Jones. Now entering the ring will be our third class of market meat goats, weighing 42 to 55 pounds. Abby Negley has 2 head and Aaliyah Negley has 1 in this class. Following this, we will have selection of our champion and reserve champion market meat goats.
Nice class of small wethers in here. I'm going to leave them as they stand and use the young lady there in the front to go ahead and win the class. Not only does that one give you an intriguing and cool look from the outside, definitely grabs your attention in that regard, but he has the most muscle. He's the biggest top one. That's the stoutest pin from behind. Good in his body shape. Not the biggest legged thing in the world, but that one's certainly good enough to win the class. One that's going to come second is really a lot like that one in the sense, good looking, good structured, but again, just not as much muscle. A little narrower tops, a little more closed up from behind. That's really the same song and dance for the one that rounds out the class. That's one that I think's got a ton of future, really long body and good growing, just a little too light, muscle, and frail to make a play. Good job.
First purple goes to Abby Negley. Second purple, Abby Negley. First blue, Aaliyah Negley. At this time, we need the first place from Class 1, Abby Negley. Class 2, Gracie Snyder. Class 3, Abby Negley. The champion and reserve champion meat goat trophies are provided by the Livestock Booster Club.
You know, as we get out here to the Champion Market Goat Drive, I think you have to remember what our priority traits are that we're looking for. And obviously, the first thing we hear is market goats. So we're looking for muscle, right? They need to be good enough muscle. They need to have that right kind of shape and dimension that we're after. But once again, some show ring presence definitely comes into play. One, to look good from the side, be good skeletally. And so there's one that I think combines that to the highest degree pretty handily. The lady here in the middle is going to be your champion.
Champion is Gracie Snyder. We'll now bring in Aaliyah Meglish to compete for reserve. Reserve market goat goes to Aaliyah Negley. Congratulations. At this time, we'll go back to the dairy goat showmanship. We do need to have a little bit of a break for trophy presentations. Reminder to the 4-Hers, you can pick up your ribbons over with Sarah in the southeast part of the building. Also, if you received a purple ribbon, you're eligible to go to the Loup Valley Challenge show in Ord, Nebraska. She's got brochures over there that explain that show, if you're interested. She also has bottles of water for anyone that needs one. We are going to have a pen of 5 market meat goat. So if they want to be making their way to the ring, please. You can bring your pen of 5 in when you have them put together.
Well, nice pen of 5 goats that we bring out here, and they can certainly stand some more competition, you know. I think there is an outlier. Obviously, we have the really younger wether there that kind of throws them off from a consistency size standpoint, but really after that, goats that really resemble the same size. You know, I think quality definitely runs deep in this set, and so that definitely is covered, there's no doubt. Really good pen of 5, like I said. I wish they could have some more competition because I think they could certainly compete, but congratulations to those young people. Good job, guys.
Your champion pen of 5 market meat goats goes to Tail Twisters. We'll now begin our dairy goat division showmanship. Junior Carson Nichols, please report to the ring. Intermediate Taylor Kramer, please be standing by. I want to thank our judge today, Blaine French, who's originally from Batesville, Arkansas. He graduated from the University of Arkansas and coached the livestock judging team at Connors State College in Oklahoma. Presently, he's the livestock judging coach at University of Nebraska in Lincoln. We welcome Blaine and thank him for coming to Dawson County.
Really, really good job by this single entry junior showman. Let's give him a round of applause. Heck of a job he's doing out here. It was a really nice job getting his goat walked into a stance. He doesn't have to fiddle with legs very much, and I really appreciate that. You got a very standard, very relaxed demeanor, and I think that goes to help him, especially once he gets out here, uses the ring very well. Once again, wish he had some more competition because I think he could certainly compete. Congratulations to that young man. He'll be your champion. Good job.
Our junior showman dairy coat champion is Carson Nichols. The trophy sponsor is the Mark Eckstone family. Entering the ring now will be our intermediate dairy goat showmanship.
Well, very much the same story over here in the intermediate division. We have a showman out here, a young lady that's doing an awesome job. I think if she had some other competition, she could certainly stick out. I can tell she's done this before. She does a nice job keeping that thing intact out here and staying focused and engaged. Really nice job on her part as far as using the ring to her advantage. Again, I think she has a bright future ahead, and congratulations to that young lady. Good job.
Intermediate trophy winner in the dairy goat is Taylor Kramer. Trophy sponsor is Laird Feed. We'll begin our dairy goat show with the 1 to 2 year old non-milking does. Taylor Kramer will have 2 entries, followed by the 2 and 3 year old milking doe and a 4 year old and older milking doe classes.
Really nice pair of females, and I'm going to go ahead and leave them as they stand and use this red doe here in the front to go ahead and win the class. That one to me is just a little bit smoother made from a balance standpoint. She's leveler up top, a little square out of her hip, and I think structurally she probably has the advantage. The one that's maybe a little bit stouter is the one that's going to sit second. She might be a little bit wider chested, a little more opened up, but I do think, again, skeletal quality pattern goes to the one in front, but again, a very nice pair of females. Good job.
Receiving purples is Taylor Kramer and Taylor Kramer. Now entering the ring will be 2 and 3 year old milking doe, shown by Carson Nichols.
nice single entry doe out here. One that I think, again, we talk about build and pattern, super up-fronted and feminine through her front 1/3. I think she's level up top and relatively square out of her hip. Structurally, she's nice and flexible. She gets out and goes, and she looks to be very developed and nicely spaced in size there in terms of her udder. One thing that I will say is that maybe, again, she could be a little bit stouter, but I do think she could stand some more competition. That's a pretty good female. Congratulations to this young man.
Receiving purple is Carson Nichols. Next entering the ring will be 4-year-old and over milking doe, shown by Carson Nichols.
Young man's going to receive purple with his black doe that he brings out here. And again, she's very, very good in terms of her front 1/3, smooth in her shoulder shape. It really transitions back into a huge, bold body type after that. She's relatively big-footed and stout bone, there's no question. I would like to correct her structure a little bit, make her a little looser as she gets out and goes. Maybe want to try to make her a little bit smoother there in terms of her teeth size. But again, really good bodied, really sound structured, like a lot of things about that one.
Receiving purple in that class is Carson Nichols. At this time, we'll select the champion and the reserve dairy goat. From the first class, we need Taylor Kramer. From the second class, Carson Nichols. And from the third class, Carson Nichols. The champion and reserve dairy goat trophies are sponsored by the Livestock Premium Club.
As we get down to the final drive of the dairy female show, I do think it's really, really close. And I think we have 3 females that cover the basics, but then 3 females that are pretty different as far as the good things they bring to the table after that. I really think it's quite interesting, the ones that we have out here. You know, it makes for a tough decision. There's a couple of them that I like the best, in my opinion. But as for me, young man here in the middle is going to go ahead and be your champion.
champion goes to Carson Nichols. Your reserve goes to Taylor Kramer. That concludes our show for today. Just a reminder to the goat and sheep people, please clean your pens and police your area. Pick up trash. Thank you.